Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' keys to victory in their Week 8 matchup versus the New York Giants. Now again, as I've said every week, this is some of the things that the Buccaneers can do to give themselves a better chance of beating the Giants in Week 8. So let's get started with the first point that I want to make here, which is attack Daniel Jones. Attacking Daniel Jones is going to be huge. He's a young quarterback. Throwing him off balance, forcing him to make mistakes is going to be very important for this Buccaneers defense. But do it strategically, because if you do it too much, of course, any quarterback in the NFL would probably get accustomed to that kind of pressure eventually and be able to take the top off of the defense. So doing it in a very strategic way is going to be very huge. It's something Todd Bowles has been doing all season to a pretty decent amount of success, if I do say so myself. Yes, in all seriousness, yes, he's been very, very successful on the defensive side of the football this year. So let's keep it going. Let's keep up this pressure, keep up the strategic blitzing and all these types of things. Daniel Jones, everybody remembers the game last year whenever he played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense and just shredded them. Throwing the ball, running the ball, you name it, Daniel Jones was able to do it. And this is a much different defense than what Daniel Jones saw early on last season. Now, granted, that was definitely the best game, I think, so far of Daniel Jones' young career, but since then, he's definitely been very up and down in terms of his overall quarterback play. However, like I just said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense is literally just a completely different defense in terms of their attitude and their overall playing ability. They awakened basically the second half of last year, and they have been really just phenomenal ever since. So I really expect this defense to continue putting the pressure on these quarterbacks, especially younger quarterbacks like Daniel Jones, a guy who doesn't have a great supporting cast around him, minus Saquon Barkley, but Saquon Barkley's out for the year, and really just force this guy to make mistakes and maybe make some turnovers, be it in the form of fumbles or interceptions, you name it. The Buccaneers defense, I think, can get those types of turnovers if they just really send the pressure and attack Daniel Jones. The next point of emphasis I want to make here is taking advantage of a weak New York Giants cornerback room. Now, I had mentioned previously that I'm a big fan of cornerback Ryan Lewis on the New York Giants. I still am a personal fan of Ryan Lewis. I think he is a very nice cornerback, but overall, I do think he will be possibly overmatched in this lineup, and in terms of this overall game, he could be overmatched when being put up against a guy like Scotty Miller. And then in the case of James Bradberry, even going back to their days with the Carolina Panthers, James Bradberry that is, Mike Evans has always seemed to really get the upper hand over a guy like James Bradberry, so I don't know if that is going to be the case in this game. I imagine they would be double covering Mike Evans a lot, but in terms of the overall workage that I expect all these wide receivers to get, Chris Godwin is out with a fractured finger. I expect Mike Evans to get some targets thrown his way, as he should. He should still be getting, in my opinion, 7 targets a game. Scotty Miller, I expect to get a decent chunk of work as well. Tyler Johnson, this could be a very, underrated. Tyler Johnson could have a great game is what I'm trying to say. He could be, very underrated coming into this game, but end up having a very phenomenal game. So maybe keep an eye out on him. And then finally, you have guys like Justin Watson, Jadon Mickens, Cyril Grayson. Those guys could potentially get some more work in there as well. I'm biased. I'd personally like to see Jadon Mickens get some work out there, but the top 3 guys being Mike Evans at the 1, Scotty Miller at the 2, and then Tyler Johnson at that 3 spot in terms of guys who are probably ranking in targets. And again, Mike Evans is probably going to be commanding a lot of attention, so Scotty Miller, but more so Tyler Johnson, both could have very solid games there. I think Scotty Miller will also be attracting a good amount of attention in his own right. So Tyler Johnson, that's the one you guys might need to keep an eye on there. The next point I want to make is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should spread out the ball more. And again, I'm going to emphasize this point. Mike Evans should be getting at least 7 targets a game. I'm just going to say that. I'm biased. It's fine. It is what it is. But one of the reasons the Buccaneers offense has been so successful this season is because Tom Brady has spread the ball out to a lot of different targets. Rob Gronkowski is starting to get back to his old form. Scotty Miller is having a great year. Mike Evans is having an all right year. His touchdowns are great, by the way. Tyler Johnson's been getting involved. Chris Godwin has been getting involved when he hasn't been dealing with some nagging injuries. And then even in the running back room, you have Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones and even lesean McCoy a little bit, who can all catch the ball out of the backfield. So spreading the ball out between Evans, Gronkowski, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, Ronald Jones, and Leonard Fournette, those 6 guys are, I think, going to be really huge in terms of the passing game and really just messing with this Giants defense in terms of who they should cover, because there's a lot of guys you need to cover there. I mean, Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski by themselves are worth double covering in most situations. And then you factor in all these other guys that I just mentioned with Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, and the running backs, and you have a lot of problems if you are a defense. So, yeah, Tom Brady should just continue doing what Tom Brady does, spreading out the ball. Obviously, there are some guys who deserve more targets than others, Mike Evans, but spreading out the ball has been very successful for the Buccaneers offense so far this year, so keep it going against what is really a very banged up New York Giants defense. The second to last point I want to make here is going to be taking advantage of a messy running back room, another position group that is really hurting for this Giants offense. Right now as it stands, Saquon Barkley, he's out for the whole year. We all know this. I've talked about that in previous videos. But also, I believe that Devonta Freeman, a recent free agent signing from a couple of weeks ago, he is not expected to play in this upcoming game versus the Giants, which is huge, because right now as it stands, I believe Wayne Gallman and maybe Dion Lewis, if he is healthy, are expected to be these starting running backs for the Giants, which is, I mean, I like both those guys personally. I think, you know, I'm biased towards them. I think they're both pretty good running backs, but in terms of what they're going up against, they're a little overmatched. I don't think that Dion Lewis and Wayne Gallman, I'm trying not to be biased here. I'm really not. But the Buccaneers' run defense is one of the best run defenses, if not the best run defense in the NFL right now. Dion Lewis is a role player. He's a receiving back. And Wayne Gallman is, you know, the Giants' third-string running back, basically, if everybody was healthy. So I'm just going to let that speak for what it is. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are able to take away the Giants' run game and continue to get pressure on Daniel Jones, it could very potentially be a long day, well, long night rather, for this New York Giants offense, because with that running back room depleted, Devonta Freeman, I mean, he was at least doing some things for this Giants offense. But if he is out of the picture, Wayne Gallman and Dion Lewis, they can't get anything going. Daniel Jones is under duress a whole lot in terms of the passing game. This Giants offense could have some problems. Now, I do like their pass catchers. I like Darius Slayton. I like Darius Slayton. I like Sterling Shepard, although I think he's on the IR right now. So I like Darius Slayton. I like Golden Tate. Is Golden Tate still on the team? I think Golden Tate's still on the team. Golden Tate, Darius Slayton, Evan Ingram, they are all good. I like those guys. I think that is a pretty okay group of receiving targets and even underrated in some ways. But if you're pressuring the young quarterback, the running game is not a factor, you can focus on other things pretty darn well. So making sure you take advantage of that running back room, being in the situation it is right now, capitalizing on those injuries could be very, very huge for this Buccaneers defense. And then finally, guys, the last point I want to make here in terms of the ways the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could win this game is a pretty simple point. Just play a clean game. Keep on going in terms of not making any mistakes with the offensive line with penalties and blocking and things like that. Keep it going. And I will say the strongest unit on this New York Giants team, period, is their defensive line. I talked about Dalvin Thompson. I talked about Leonard Williams. I talked about Dexter Lawrence. I love all three of those guys. I think they are all three very solid defensive linemen. But this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line is coming off of two very strong performances versus the Green Bay Packers and versus the Las Vegas Raiders. So keep that consistency. I've mentioned it before, and I will mention it again. Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, Tristan Wirfs. Not worried. Alex Kappa, I'm generally not worried about him. Everybody on the offensive line needs to play with some consistency. We all know this. I've been saying this for months now, and I will continue to say that until I feel comfortable. And I don't know if I'll ever feel comfortable, so we're just going to keep on talking about it in these videos. But keep the penalties down. keep the offensive line play good, keep the discipline in that defense good as well, because we have had some problems with penalties like offsides and things like that before in this season with the Buccaneers defense. So overall, if we play a clean game, communication is good, chemistry is good, penalties are good, blocking is good, all those different types of things, then the Buccaneers should be fine in terms of overall stability and whatnot, and having themselves have a better chance of winning this game. If all those things are clean and no issues there, that obviously gives them a better chance to win this game. So guys, that is going to be it for this video. Let me know what you thought about all of my points down in the comment section below, and what are some of the other ways you feel the Buccaneers could do certain things to give themselves a better chance to win this game. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.